Thanks for tuning in to Proline TV for a NASCAR Saturday. It's a starting lineup report for Darlington, the Southern Cookout 500 or the Cookout Southern 500. Either way, anyway, we are going to take a look at practice and qualifying. We have something interesting that happened today, so we don't want to get you confused by what you might just see regarding the practice speeds compared to the starting lineup and the qualifying speeds. So let's get right to it. Okay, we're going to first start out. I'll tell you what, let's start out first of all with the practice speeds, since this is what kicked off the day. And as you see here, let me go right about here. Okay, so you see these first 12 drivers. Now you're probably going, well, what happened to the playoff drivers? What's going on here? Because there's only one playoff driver in the top 12, and that's Bubba. Actually, Bubba, it's interesting that he's a playoff driver because Bubba actually ended up as the real fastest driver in practice. And what do I mean by that? Well, first practice, the cars that had the opportunity to come out first in practice at this racetrack today had a major advantage. The track was clean. The track was exactly what you wanted to be like to get better speed. And then by time that 15-minute session was done and they were done trashing the track, all the other drivers came out and they were a lot slower. Bubba is the only one that finished in the top 12. So, in other words, he's the only driver that actually was with the second group that found a way to finish in the top 8. He was 8th. All right. So that's what we're going to try to do here is we're going to try and convey to you the drivers that were in the second group. Now, look, you can say, well, it's not really fair, right? Because what if the drivers in the first group had been in a fair practice run with the drivers in the second group? Couldn't they have still ended up faster? Of course they could have. But realistically, when you take a look at all these drivers, I mean, come on. I mean, it's you're going to really tell me they're looking at all these non-playoff drivers just coincidentally happen to go faster? No, sorry, not gonna buy it. So Bubba's definitely the one that sticks out, okay, which is actually pretty good. What did I have Bubba the other day when we did our show on Tuesday? I know Bubba was a driver that we said that we liked as a long shot. I'm not sure if we took him officially as one of our long shots, though. Who did we pick? Do I even? Oh, I was looking at my playoff picks. All right. Anyway, hopefully you knew who. Oh wait, is this it? No, I don't know. Anyway, well, we like Bubba. So he was a driver that we definitely thought you should be taking a look at, and we'll get into that. All right. So now here's the rest. So you have Chastain is definitely now looked impressive today too. So Wallace, I think, was one of the more impressive drivers. Chastain, in my opinion, he gets the gold star today for being the most impressive. Then you have, I think, Jones. That's a very important spot for Jones. Byron, that's our top pick. And I don't think I see any other reason why to not take Byron after what he did earlier this year. Briscoe, Hamlin, even Cindric was in a nice position. Reddick is in a good position. I thought Austin Dillon's a nice long shot. And then you got Bell, Logano, Blaney, and that's it. You know, Blaney is where you want to draw the line. Anybody past Blaney, forget it. And that includes Chase Elliott, Keselowski, who I thought could be a potential long shot. So, and Josh Berry, even though he qualified third, which we're going to get into, this is just a really awful practice run for him. Didn't matter which side he was on, just didn't matter. Plus, he's driving a Ford, and the Fords are definitely a little slower than the Chevys and the Toyotas right now. Toyota had 3 of the top 4 in qualifying. Chevy, 2 of the top 6, and Ford, 2 of the top 10. So now let's make our way over to the qualifying run. Okay, so this is going to give us a much better indication of what's happening. Everybody's even and all that kind of stuff. So now here are all the playoff drivers. All right, now this makes more sense, right? Who's not in that list as a playoff driver? Logano, Elliott, SVG, big surprise. No surprises. We talked about how Alex Bowman does not do good here. Elliott, he's really not a big surprise because he's never won here. He hasn't led a lap in his last 9 races. So even though he's been okay, and that's all he wants to do, just be okay. Because if you look at it, as we said the other day, he's got a 7.8 average if you take out the damaged race car he had in a 2022 race in the next gen. So that's all he wants. Now, after the way he drove today, just get me in the top 10 again, and I'm okay. The rest of the way, Logano has not raced well at all here lately. So he's on the outskirts anyway. I would put him in as a potential if he had raced better here. But Logano, even though he has a win, has one win, it's in 23 races. And in his last 5 races, he's got an average of 14.4 with 1 top 10, and he has not led a lap. So we want to get rid of Logano as well. So those, elimination, that's what we're going to do there. Okay, so we're going to put our marker right there. These are the drivers that we're going to concentrate on that we think have the best chance of winning tomorrow's race. Now, as I said, Chastain's got to get the biggest gold star. We're going to do that because Chastain's got an 18-1 odds number, which I don't really know how much further it'll go down. Maybe you lose a couple of points since Tuesday, but I still think you're going to get good odds for him. Yes, he's never won a race here. Not a big deal, but this is what we said the other day. Watch it if he qualifies in the top 5. Why? Because he's got an average of 20.7 in his starting position average. 20.7. And yet, if you take a look at, let's see, where is this? You take a look at his last 4 races, okay? And actually, I want to make sure, give me my calculator. I want to make sure that the 20.7 was over the last 4 races too. I think it is, but let me just double check. That's 47, 57, 56, 66, 76, 86, 83 divided by 4 equals. Yep, that's what it is. Okay, so the last 4 races for Ross Chastain, his average starting position is 20.7, yet his average finish is 7th, 7.0. So that is a major jump up. He has started 25th, 22nd, 9th, and 27th. So that's why I said, hey, watch out for Chastain. If he actually qualifies in the top 5, that means he's going to be dangerous because he always seems to do a lot better on Sunday than Saturday. And lo and behold, does he qualify in the top 5? No. Top 6. Good enough for me. So I think Chastain is definitely one you want to be keeping an eye on. The other driver that gets a gold star or maybe a silver, I'm going to go with Briscoe, Reddick, and Wallace. And again, looking at Wallace, he had a bad run out of it this year, 21st, nothing happened. But he did start 5th. And in his 5 previous races before this year, he was on the pole, even though he finished 16th. That was his worst finish in the previous 5. But then the previous 4, 7, 7, 5, 9. So you're getting 22-1. I don't think those odds are going to drop all that much. So you're still going to get a good number. He's driving a Toyota, which is good. So yes, I think Bubba Wallace is still a very good option, as is Chastain. Then we look at Reddick. Reddick was my top pick earlier this year. And Reddick actually, did a pretty good job earlier this year. And he finished 4th from the 7th position. So here he's going to start 4th. He's got 4 top 5s out of 12 races. He's led over 300 laps. So that's good. And all of those, most of those laps, 317 of them, have come in the next gen. All of his production has come in the next gen. 4 top 5s, 2 runner-ups, and 317 laps led. He were 8-1 though. His odds were already low, so I don't think they're gonna go too much further down. You should still get about 8-1, 7-1. I think that's fine. If it goes below that, I'd stay away. Briscoe though was another driver that you had to keep an eye on because first of all, he's the defending champ. You were also getting 13-1, which isn't bad. Maybe those odds will drop as well because of his second starting position. But again, you're talking about defending champ. And he finished 5th in another race over his last 3. and he had a bad race. He had finished 28th, but he started 4th. So he's had good moments over the last 3 races here. And keeping in mind, the only negative is it's a new team this year. Different team last year when he won. So new team, but he did start well, starting 4th. But this was way into the beginning part of the season when he was with the new team and he was still learning and trying to figure things out. So I'm willing to forgive him, but I don't want that the numbers to drop all that much. If you're still getting close to 13-1, now that's fine. Toyota, all that. But just keep an eye on those odds. Hamlin, to me, is the second favorite that I would look at after Byron because of, look, he's on the pole, which is going to be big for him. And he's been so awesome here. 14 top 5s and 5 wins. He's led over 1,000 laps. He won earlier this year, which might make it difficult for him to win a second time. You know how hard that is. But remember what we said the other day. If you look back at how he won last year, luck. He had a situation where Ryan Blaney was about to win. Larson wrecks. Bubba might have had something to do with it. And then they get into the pits and Hamlin comes out first. And that's all it takes at Darlington. If you're on the outside, it's over. And that's exactly what happened. And Hamlin won the race. So there's that. So it wasn't like he was dominant. But look, the history tells you he's been great here. I think the good thing for Hamlin is that hopefully those odds won't drop too much. But I think because he's on the pole, he'll probably not slide into the favorite role. I think if you're still getting 4 to 5 to 1, that's fine. That's okay. But the problem is we're still going with Byron. Okay, so since I'm already taking Byron, and I don't see Byron's odds changing that much from 6 to 1, so because of that, I'm not going to go with another short-priced driver. So I'm still hanging on with Byron as my top choice. Hamlin, though, would have to be the second. That's for me. You might want to take Hamlin yourself, and I think that is a good way to go because I'd take Hamlin and Byron over Larson. Even though Larson starts 5th here, he was 23rd in practice, which meant he might have been around 10th to 12th if it was evened out. So that's not really bad, but it's nothing great. Larson, meanwhile, has a 20.5 average in the next gen. 20.5. Now that includes a win, but 20.5 average in next gen, and that's compared to a 5.75 average in pre-next gen at Darlington. So you just got to keep that in mind. So that's another reason why I'm taking Byron and Hamlin over Larson. Blaney, meanwhile, and Cindric, Logano. I told you about Logano. Blaney, look, he was 6 to 1. I thought that was ridiculously overpriced for a driver who does not have a great history here. But as we've mentioned, Blaney has gotten a lot better on some of these tracks like Richmond and Darlington over the years. Matter of fact, 5th earlier this year was his best finish at Darlington. But he's only led 24 laps ever in his career there. The 5th place finish was, again, his only top 5 ever. So if I'm getting 6 to 1 still, which you probably are, you're just getting no value with Blaney, which is why I'd still go Byron and Hamlin, especially since Blaney just won last week. Okay, so those would be the top drivers I would go with. Again, Byron, I'm sticking with Byron. There's no reason not to. He was 16th in practice, so he was really about 5th to 7th, considering he was 11th in qualifying. That's fine. Now, you do have to, again, you've got the situation with qualifying. That does matter at Darlington, being a short track, regarding the fact that you want to be able to be in good starting position at the track. The history says that in the next gen, 5 of the 7 winners have started in the top 2 rows. 1 pole sitter. Okay, we've had that, even though it's the only pole sitter in the last 17 races at Darlington to win. But hey, it is at least 1 pole. Bottom line, it means you're in the top 4. You're in good shape at Darlington. When Hamlin won, keep this in mind, and I don't think this matters much, but when Hamlin stole the win this year, it was the first time Toyota has won at Darlington in next gen. Ford and Chevy had split 3 each. Okay, but I don't really think that matters because when you take a look at just recently, even Toyota's done really well on practice and qualifying and in the races. They just haven't had luck until this year. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I think this is one of those weekends where I'm not concerned myself too much with it. But I still would favor Toyota and Chevy a little bit over Ford. And speaking of Ford, Cindric, he has no good history here. So even though he had a pretty good day 10th in qualifying, and right about top 10 in practice. If all things were equal, then that's a pretty good day. But I'd rather go with Austin Dillon, who starts ninth. He's driving a Chevy. He was 100-1 when the day started, and he would have practiced around 11th to 13th, which isn't that bad. And if you take a look at Austin Dillon's history at the track, he has a 15.6 average in 18 races. That's not that bad for Austin Dillon. Okay, so that's not that bad. Of course, he's racing the best he's raced all year over the last month. He's never led a lap. Keep that in mind at Darlington. He wouldn't be my first choice, but for a long shot, I would definitely put a buck or two on him, as I would with Eric Jones, because Eric Jones, who I'd prefer over Dillon, was 60-1 when the weekend started. He's got 2 wins over the track, and that includes a win under Petty. But he has been much better at the track with Joe Gibbs Racing. There's no question about that. He hasn't led a lap in his last 5 races, but he has a 13.5 average at the track over 15 races, which is pretty good for for Eric Jones. So that would be it. I mean, Christopher Bell, he's definitely someone that's up there. He had a decent combination of qualifying and practice, but 8-1. I just have, like other drivers, sort of the same way I felt about Larson. Even though Bell was my championship pick, he had a pretty solid spring. Bell did, and he's finished 3rd in his last 2 races at Darlington, but he's only led 1 lap in those 2 races. So not really overexcited about Bell, but he definitely has a shot, no question. But you can't take everybody, and that's how I'm going to break down the field. So again, we'll go Byron over Hamlin as far as the favorites. And then the middle group, we're definitely going Briscoe, Chastain, and Wallace. And got to throw Reddick in there because he's getting decent odds as well, about 8-1. But, if I'm going to pick Reddick at 8-1 and Byron at 6, if I'm getting 5-1 with Hamlin, I'll just take Hamlin. I'll go that route. But if Hamlin's like 3-1, then I'd probably rather take Reddick and Byron in that case. But again, everybody's different. I know that. I hope I've been able to get you up to speed on exactly how things went today at Darlington. Not a very easy way to figure things out, the way practice unfolded. So I tried to do the best that I can to figure it out for you. And I hope you enjoy the race tomorrow. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that before. That's the best way. It's the easiest way. Just go ahead right now and click that subscription button. And it's real important for us to continue to give you all this free information as often as possible. So just do that. That's all we can ask. Also, we love the likes, the comments. All that stuff is just icing on the cake. So enjoy the race tomorrow. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Again, I'm by myself 1 more week. CJ's still abroad. So we'll be talking about Gateway on Tuesday. No playoff preview. So it should be a much shorter show. But and because there's not a whole lot of other past races to look at, but we'll do our best. We'll give you the information to get you up to a great start on Tuesday at 4:00 live right here on Proline TV. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in a few days.